there has been so much going on lately. I hardly have 2 minutes, to rub together and kind of process it all. But yeah, there's a lot going on with work and a lot going on here at home. And so I know that we will have plenty of things to talk about.
No doubt. So I guess real Will Rogers. That's interesting, right?
Yes, you may have heard before that I was nominated, and I just recently found out that I am one of the five finalists for the Will Rogers Medallion Award, and it's an award given for excellence in Western writing. They're going to announce the recipient on October 27th. So I have to wait a little while, but I'm actually pretty excited I got this far.
No doubt. I'm interested in you as a Western author. Did you, I mean, you write memoirs, right? You write these, you're on your second book. Did you consider yourself a Western author before this, or was it kind of a surprise?
I would say I was probably the most surprised. No, in fact, it wasn't my plan, in a sense, to do this kind of work. When we moved out here, the stories that were unfolding were becoming more popular. I would send emails out to my friends and family and explain all of the amazing things that were happening to us. And more than one person said, "You should write a book." And I thought, well, I'm really a wildlife artist, and I didn't know if I could write a book or even write something that people would want to read. But after a while, I decided to go ahead and give it a try, and I'm really glad I did
Yeah,
because it's turning into all kinds of things now, and certainly much bigger than I ever thought. So it's very exciting.
it's interesting. So I mean, you obviously have done more than just move out west at this point. You've become an author. You've become a little bit of a publisher and marketing as well, and putting on the hat of a podcaster soon. Also, right? Are you
Yes,
going? Yeah, that's crazy.
it
I
is.
see, I see it in you though, because you are like the easiest person to get on the show. I love talking to you because you want to talk. You're like made for podcasting.
And it's funny, I never thought of myself in that way. In fact, trying to get out and do these interviews,
Hmm.
at first, it was, I felt very awkward. And
Yeah.
it's kind of difficult for me because, my work is mostly done in solitude. I'm an artist, so I do my drawings and paintings and I work alone. And as you know, because you write, when you're an author, you tend to do that work, by yourself as well. So trying to get out and talk about it or market the work and discuss what I do and be so open about it, it was kind of a push for me. And I'm still evolving with that type of public, work, but I'm finding it easier to do. So I'm glad you feel that way.
Well, I mean, all it is getting on and getting used to it, right? I mean, someone's like somebody else is going to produce it for you, though.
It is. What happened was I
It's
was
cheating,
interviewed on.
Nancy. It's cheating. You need to do it
Oh,
all yourself. You need to do it
it's
everything. You need to figure it all out step by step. No joking. That's awesome. Who's who's producing it for you?
Well, I was interviewed on a program called Off the Chain, and
Off the
Yvonne
chain.
Mason has been the host of it for a couple of years now, and it is produced through. You've probably heard of Blog Talk Radio.
Oh, I don't think so. Maybe I have. I'll look them
Well,
both up.
it's yeah, you'll have to look it up. You may end up there one day yourself. It's I'm sorry, Blog Talk Radio is the name of the site, and it's internet radio. But it's a very popular hub, and it seems to be where a lot of people go to look for shows that are produced for internet radio. So I had an interview, and for the
Oh,
first book,
interesting. Okay.
when the second book came out just a couple of weeks ago, which is Stay West, Young Woman, I'll tell you about that in a minute. She really liked the things that we were talking about, and of course, I have very unusual subjects. So when the show was over, she asked me if I'd be willing to come on once a month and sort of host a spot the first Wednesday of every month and talk about news from the mountain because you know it's never dull here.
Yeah. Well, I know you get bear, and that definitely freaks me out. So
We do.
you know what I just picture going out to the garbage. It's just me. It's a good dumpster, so it's like right there in the parking lot. So I imagine you have the same exact situation. I don't know what you have, but you're going out there to take garbage out, and all of a sudden there's a giant grizzly just standing in your way, and you die. I mean, you're at home, and that's when it's gonna happen. And it's like that's my nightmare for you and for all the other mountain folk.
Well, let me put some of your fears at ease because I can tell you the first rule of living the way we do is you don't put your garbage outside because it does attract everybody in. So
Even
we
the
keep it in the
raccoons
garage.
are annoying, right? But you have those in abundance as well.
Oh, we have just about everything here. Um, we have the wolves and the coyotes, and they're probably more of a, for lack of a better word, more of a nuisance. I mean, they can be dangerous and threatening, but I don't worry about them as much as I do the larger predators like the cougars and the bears.
Yeah.
And believe me, we bought, I don't know if you happen to have seen, it was a video just a few weeks ago. We bought a new grill and it's a really nice one. It's a large one. It's a smoker attaches to it. And I thought to myself, you know, I can just see us grilling food out in the front patio, and all of a sudden, everything from everywhere starts showing up because because they can smell it and it brings them in.
Is that
So
something, I mean, honestly, is that something that you have to consider can you barbecue? What'd your husband say when you said that? Did he laugh at you? Ha ha ha, Nancy, I'm going to grill anyway. And then he brought out like a big hunk of deer and threw it on the grill and
yeah, that's pretty much how it went. Uh, we're not afraid to grill, and to be honest, we grill fairly often in the summer, and I've never had an incident of that happen.
does it
Although,
happen to anybody though? I mean, obviously it can, right? Animals do come out of the woods and attack. Or is it like they just want the decaying meat? They just want it when it's cold because they're too afraid of us. Are they is it ingrained? They smell like cooking meat. They know all humans are working on that. We'll wait until they leave it alone.
well, there, of course, I've had animals once we've finished with it. With the grill, I've had a couple of times where they're trying to rummage through, maybe the
Rummage through,
ashes or
right?
sniff around or something.
So
But
after the fact, you were like a nature person back in the day. Is there any truth to that? Like they don't like cooking food, they want the after effects.
well, no, I actually think that cooking food can bring them in.
Oh
I
yeah.
haven't had that experience here, but I do have a friend in North Carolina, and there have been times when she's been grilling out food and looked up and seen a black bear
Oh
right
yeah.
right at the tree line because it smells the food and it's very interested in where it's coming from. I don't think it happens a lot, but it certainly
I lived
can
in
happen.
Gatlinburg, Smoky Mountains, and we had black bear all the time. Like that exact scenario that I presented for you in terms of
Hmm.
taking garbage out. You would take garbage out and there would be black bear there.
Well,
I
that
mean,
is pretty common.
they're like
Yeah,
300
they,
pounds. They have their cubs right there. I mean, they shoot them almost on sight. I think they trank them and then drag them back into the woods. If they're fine, they're dangerous once they realize they can eat human food. They're a nuisance. You have to do something extreme with them, I think. I'm not sure. Am I
well,
right about that?
well, you're right. They do become a threat. And what we find also here in Yellowstone and some of the other national parks is they get used to people. They come into the picnic grounds.
Yeah.
They're used to being fed. They see a source of food, whether it's in your garbage can. They always want you to pack your trash out with you, but a lot of people don't. And then a lot of people think it's fun and they feed them,
Yeah.
which is a huge mistake. So there's always going to be that struggle anytime people and nature kind of get together. But I
It's
don't
really
want
horrible,
to
isn't it? I mean,
struggling with that where I live. So
right?
we're really
Yeah.
careful about not putting trash out, not leaving food out. I don't want anything to lure them in.
Do you burn trash?
No, we have a dump that is in the county, and it's in our section. So it's not far from the house. It's a few miles from the house. And we keep all the garbage inside in the laundry room. And then when we're ready, we pack up the car and take it to the dump. I don't even
So
keep it in the
interesting.
garage because mice will get in and rats will get in.
That's straight on awesome, isn't it though? I mean, I definitely saw the video with the greenhouse. I remember the grill thinking that's odd that they need a grill out in the country,
Mhm.
right? I don't know. But that was my thought there. But then the greenhouse happened and I was like, wow, that is magnificent. That's my fantasy is a greenhouse. And I remember us talking about the lack of electricity in the winter before I asked my dumb question. But it's interesting that you wouldn't just wire it for the winter too.
Oh, well, it's not a dumb question. It's a perfectly valid one, and we have thought about it on and off. Um, at this point, I probably won't unless I'm finding that I'm really wanting those fresh vegetables during the winter. It's a lot of work to try
Yeah.
to rig up the heating to where it will actually do some good because you have to remember we get like 20 below temperatures. And even a small space heater, I don't know
Well, I
would
was sure,
really.
honestly. If you
Yeah,
looked
well,
at the
actually, a
picture,
lot of people have suggested, and there are ways to rig up, heating in there, but then you have to worry about trying to run the electric line, and you'd probably want to bury it, not just leave like a cord, running across the ground to get run over by the snowplow
yeah.
and have the freezing cold moisture on it and stuff. So there's kind of a lot that goes into the idea of heating the greenhouse, and we may do that in years to come, but right now I just don't do it.
Is that building insulated?
No, it isn't.
No, so you'd have to do that too, because you'd like
Yeah.
bleed heat or whatnot. And it's a fascinating idea, isn't it? I mean, I just love the idea of just being able to grow whatever you want. Um, Never really considered that broccoli as something that you had to hunt for either. That was just a fascinating video to me. I watched the hell out of
Well, did
that.
you notice how huge those leaves were? I mean, when
Yeah,
I bent
that was
down into the
impressive.
broccoli patch, you couldn't see me.
No, I was seriously, I was like, okay, now I'm going in for the broccoli, and you disappeared for 15 minutes and came back. No, it was crazy that you grew that. I mean, are you guys having like a hard summer? Is it really hot there?
It's not that bad, and this is the first year in a while where we haven't been having a whole lot of smoke. I know all around us they're having fires again. Last year,
Interesting.
Montana, it was horrible for fires. I think I told you about that. It was almost the whole summer you could not go outside.
Yeah, with
Uh,
car, man, you have to, I guess, think about that, don't you? The entire West is a cinder. I mean, what do you call it? It's not a cinder block, but what do you call it?
oh, a tinderbox?
A tinder box. Thank you. It's a tinder box. It can go off in a minute. A cinder block. I'm so stupid. But anyway, I mean, yeah, man, the whole place, a car is amazing. I mean, that's like the ninth worst fire in the history of California right now.
They are really, really struggling, and Oregon is also having a lot of problems. They're struggling with fire. Um, I don't know where it's going to go, but we are coming into August now, and so it should begin to slow down somewhat.
Hmm.
I'm hoping ours are not still on the way because we've been very fortunate this year,
I
but
have an
we'll just have
idea.
to wait and watch.
What about cement? You just cement over everything. Then you don't have to worry about fires.
Well, that's interesting you make that remark because we actually decided when we built the house, even though it looks like wood planks, it's actually a hardy board, which is a cement board.
Oh yeah,
And
that
then
makes
once you
total
paint
sense.
it, yeah, it looks just like wood. And the roof is metal. And we have what's called a fire break. And so around the house, I don't have a lot of shrubbery and trees and things that are real close. And we have cement patios, and then beyond that, we have stones, so that there's a little bit of a fire break around the house.
But if
If
like your place,
if the worst happens, we just pick up and go, and
go,
and
okay, you
don't
wouldn't.
worry about it. Whatever
The
it is,
house
it
will
can
be
be
there when you get
replaced.
back, or whatever. The house will be there. Whatever's inside will like roast down the dust that won't want it.
It might, yeah. You just don't know, and but we've already got a plan, which I think everybody should have for fire. And so we have a plan. We all
It's
know
so
what to
important
do.
to
The
know
girls
stuff.
have been told what to do, and we all have a job, and bam, we
Yeah.
can be out within a few minutes.
Obviously, you're thinking about it. You have go bags, each of you, all four of you.
Yeah, we know what we're taking and what we're leaving, and we have a plan for the horses, and
It was really
so
scary for me. I wasn't obviously there. I was married and living in New York City, but when Gallenberg, Tennessee went up in flames a few years ago, it was like 3 years now. It happened like like in the middle of the night, right? Everything started burning, and there were
mhm,
videos that came out of the event of these people coming out of the mountains. And I live there, so I know how these mountain roads work. There's one way in and one way out. Sometimes there's only one way in, and they're completely boxed into this inferno. I mean, it was incredibly intimidating to think you were done if your road got blocked off. You know what I mean? Trees are falling all over the place. I mean, you just have one road back and forth, don't you? Right in front of the place or whatever. You don't live in
but
like an area. I have like hundreds of different ways I can go.
you're right. And we do have you can either go down to the highway, go down to the hard road, or you go back up even further and higher up into the mountain. There's, there's not a whole lot of choice, or
Yeah.
you might be able to cross depending on the situation. You might be able to make your way on a different route, but basically those are your only options.
It's
And
fascinating, isn't it?
there's
Because
not a lot of options, yeah. Or
for
you
somebody
jump on
like
the back of
me,
the horse and you go.
right? Oh, you have horses. That's so fantastic. You can go backcountry it, couldn't you?
Yeah,
For
if
somebody
needed.
like for somebody like me who writes fiction, stuff like that is fodder, isn't it? I mean, you're a mom trying to escape a raging inferno. Boom, short story. I mean, it's really just interesting what you can add to with your writing just around you. And that term Western author, I mean, you're in history, right? You change it a little bit and put a character in those situations, then it's fiction. It's speculative fiction. That's why I've always enjoyed talking with you, because this is a genre that works for me. You can use your real life and create characters and just kind of make it happen. I
Oh,
mean,
well,
just
I'm
for
really interested to see what you're going to come up with then. Do you think you're sort of leaning towards some Western
no
writing
me,
for
nah,
yourself?
I do science fiction and fantasy stuff. I'm saying for you,
Oh,
in terms of fiction, you could probably go in that direction as well. Move away from memoirs.
I could. Um, but to be honest, I've always been really more comfortable with writing about what I know and what I've experienced and my perception of it. And I get a lot of questions about people asking me, "Are you ever going to write fiction? Are you going to ever write fiction?" Well, I might one day. I'm not going to close that door.
Mm,
But for now, even with the third book that's coming up, there's so much to write about that I've already experienced that is very interesting and unusual. And those kinds of stories are worth sharing. And so I've got enough for a while to keep me busy.
well, that's the thing. Also, you have the art too, don't you?
Hmm.
You're constantly working in that medium as well. Are you producing art still?
I am not as much as I used to. Honestly, going off into a new career line of being an author does take a tremendous chunk of my time, because in the middle of that, I also still have my family to look after, and the animals, and
Yeah. I mean, you're
school's
not like
coming
me.
up. So
You're,
my husband and I homeschool, so that's a
you're
huge
not
time
sitting
commitment there.
you're not sitting in a basement all day long. You're out there working the land and doing all types of crazy stuff.
There's always a project. In the summer, we take advantage of the good weather, and we get a lot of things that are done on the homestead. And in fact, did you happen to see the cute little video about my wildlife construction crew?
No, I don't think
You,
so.
did you miss that one? That one is worth
I think
seeing.
so.
While we're outside doing things, we always have different animals and wildlife and things kind of stopping by and watching what we're doing. And so I took a lot of their photos and put it together and made this cute little video about my construction crew that are all wildlife, animals and birds and such. So it's very fun. Um, but as an example of some of the things that we're doing, we needed some heavy equipment brought up for a particular maintenance project we were working on from some siding on the house. And this large truck came and it had a big piece of a, oh, what do you call them? I should have said cinder block, but I won't make fun of you there.
Now it has to be cinder block,
It was like
100%.
a cherry picker, you know,
Oh,
those
okay.
great ones that have the you can go to higher places, you can stand in the bucket and it lifts you up.
Hmm.
So we had one of those brought up to the place, and it was on a huge tractor trailer, and it was trying to get it moved off of the bed and then get turned around. Well, while it was starting to turn around, there wasn't quite enough room, and he got stuck, and he kind of sort of jackknifed a little bit, and then had the tire sort of fell into the softer side of the slope there. So we all stood around trying to figure out what to do. And so my husband and the other gentleman that brought it up, Bill got the tractor out. The other guy got his truck. They actually chained it, and both of those working at the same time managed to pull him out and get him turned around. So it was quite an event to see the tractor pulling one way and the truck pulling another way. And with a pickup truck and the tractor, they managed to move this massive, vehicle and get it righted so that he could turn around. He had to go down to the pasture, turn around in the pasture, and then head back out down the mountain.
Well, that's
So
exactly my point, isn't it? You could I could totally write that story and get a public. I like 5 or 6 magazines right now that you could probably try to get that published in. It's really neat that you have. I mean, I hate my neighbors, hate them. I don't like any of them, but you have to get along with your people and just strangers up and down the road. Have to.
we do at times. And, sometimes you kind of have to rely on each other when you're living in such a rural environment. But to be honest, we learned kind of early that we have to be independent, and we basically have to rely on ourselves, that nobody's going to come to your rescue, which is one of the reasons why we bought the tractor. When we first moved here, we had to rely on people. We would pay them to come up and plow and let us get out in the wintertime. Otherwise, we would be completely snowed in. And that was, not the most reliable way of doing it. So the next year that we were here, we decided that investing in that tractor with the big snow plow
Yeah.
um, would be the best way, because we would have to independently get ourselves out of the snow. And sometimes in a real bad snow, Bill's out there plowing 4, 5, 6 times a day just to keep the road clear, and you can't expect people to come up and do that for you.
Well, I mean, you can, but you'll be waiting a while, I guess.
That's true, because they're busy digging themselves out. So,
Right? I mean, who wants? I mean, I look at people who are dug in here. They not gonna help them. I'm mean though. Like I said, I hate my neighbors.
why?
Um,
What's going on with your neighbors?
Nothing. They're just normal people. And just unfortunately in this area, if you get talked to, it's usually an issue that you're gonna have to deal with. It's not like, hey, how you doing? Let's have a cup of coffee. It's, hey, how you doing? You're parked a little bit over the line in the parking spot space. I'm gonna make your life miserable until you move. Something along those lines. It's never friendly, ever.
Well, I've lived
You've
in the
lived in this
city.
area, yeah, you know exactly what it's
I
like.
know exactly what you're talking about, and it is kind of unfortunate, but I I do I do understand what you're saying to me, because I've lived in those kinds of experiences. So yeah.
I mean, I fantasized about living how you live out in the middle. I've lived out in the middle of nowhere before. You know, you get a knock on your door here, generally it's going to be a mistake, pizza delivery guy looking for another door or something. It's not going to be an issue, but if you get a knock on your door in the middle of the night, you start loading things, right? I mean, you get freaked out.
Well, something's up. Yeah, because
Something's up, right?
yeah, people don't just come out here for no reason. And um, as a rule, you sort of know who's coming ahead of time. If not, I remember one time, one afternoon, and I even wrote about it, but I'll briefly tell you. I was making dinner, and I heard a knock at the door, and I thought, oh, it's my UPS man, because I know him very well. It's always the same guy for years, and it's about that time when he would show up. And I just assumed that that's who it was. And I went to the glass door and looked out, and I didn't see anybody. And I thought, well, that's very strange. It's not like we're in a neighborhood where the kids knock on your door, ring the bell, and run away. And thought, well, that's really odd. And I took a look around again, and I opened the door, and here I found a lost hunter, and he had completely collapsed on my front porch. So
This freaking
it's
crazy.
yeah, so
This
it's
is not real, is it? This got to be fake. Why would?
no, no.
Why?
I
These are
can't make
freaking
this stuff up.
awesome stories, man. These are really good fiction fodder, fodder for fiction stories. This is good stuff.
So you just never, you never quite know what's around the corner, but you're right. It's not like we have a lot of people coming and going, and as a rule, you generally sort of know who's going to be showing up and
It's
when.
crazy. Yeah, Lost Hunter. You wouldn't hear his car, would you?
Nope,
No.
no car.
And chances are he four-wheel drived out in the middle of nowhere looking for something, and maybe something happened with that. Right? What was
Well,
it? Yeah.
we kind of, I won't spoil the story for the book, but we kind of have a term that's prevalent around here, and people get elk fever.
Elk
And
fever.
what they start doing is they start following the elk herds, and they think if they can get close enough, they might be able to get one. And so they get just close enough, and then the elk realize that, and they move off a ways. And so you end up following them, and pretty soon people get lost, and they have no idea where they are.
And it gets
And
addictive, doesn't it? Eventually, you're just mad.
yeah, and then all of a sudden you realize you're out in the middle of nowhere, and you don't really know where you are,
Yeah.
and so a lot of people get lost that way, just because they get so focused on their goal, which is hunting, and then all of a sudden the elk are gone, and they stand there going, okay, I have no idea where I am now. And it happens.
Honestly, I guess that was disingenuous of me. And oh wow, there's a little bit of an echo. In terms of what you are talking about, these characters are archetypal. I mean, you can put them anywhere. These stories are really interesting, right? That hunter that's lost in the woods, looking for elk, constantly searching for it. I mean, it's really endearing, isn't it?
I have met, since we've been here, it's an incredibly different lifestyle, and I have met some really interesting and wonderful people. And of course, anywhere you go, some of them are not nice, but as a rule, most of them are. They're sincere, they're genuine, and everybody seems to have a story about an experience they've had or something they've been through. And so you're right. I mean, the world is just wide open as far as everybody having an experience or something to learn from or share or contribute. It's been very interesting since we came west. I don't think I had as many of these kinds of experiences when I lived in other parts of the country.
You, I almost said your father. Your husband was in the Air Force. You moved around a lot. You went overseas too, right?
He did. I didn't. At that time, they weren't for the kinds of missions that he did. They
Oh, I
weren't
see.
bringing families. So he's been all over the world, and I was more of stay here and kind of look after the girls and keep the family going. But all in all, I still wouldn't trade it. He's done important life's work, and I'm really proud of him for that. And it was very nice though when we came here, because now he has time to get to know the girls and spend time with the family and not have to be tied to a cell phone or tied to a computer with the news
Yeah.
coming and such. And if there's a massive crisis, he's not smack dab in the middle of it. So it's been kind of a relief, actually.
Yeah. You know what they say about military wives? I mean, you're there too. Every,
Oh, you are? Yeah, you absolutely are.
oh, for a second there, I was talking. I wasn't sure if you were able to hear me. So I put you on mute for the rest of what I was saying. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. As a military wife, I mean, my mom was one too. We didn't have combat until we were already separated from my dad. But man, it felt like I was in Desert Storm like every single day of that conflict that I knew he was on the ground there. I watched every single little bit of news. There's songs that played on the radio. I don't know why they do this shit. It really drives me crazy. But they, sensationalize things. They emotionalize things with songs or whatever during these conflicts. And as a kid, it like just tore me up. But yeah, man, families go through that stuff too. It's horrible for everybody.
Oh, it is. It is. And, you know, I think in some ways, the reason why, and it depends on how it's presented, it really does. But I think one of the reasons why a lot of the recording artists do that is because they're trying to get the message out that it's not just about the soldiers, that the families are in there suffering too. And I think a lot of people don't make that kind of connection because I know that on September 11th, even, Bill was there in the building as it was burning.
Yeah.
And he stayed and he did his job. Now, he managed to come out of it okay, but other people that we know didn't. But even after that time, within just weeks of that event, I had neighbors coming and asking me things like, "The helicopters are disrupting my daughter's nap. Can you tell your husband, not to have them fly over here in the afternoons and things?" And I was really surprised
Wait,
because I
your
thought,
husband was that important that you could tell the helicopters not to fly over?
well, they were thinking so. I mean, he was at the Pentagon and he did a lot of, crisis operation type work. But just the idea that they were more concerned about their schedule. And I said, well, wouldn't it be better to maybe change your baby's nap time because the helicopters have to
Yeah.
fly because they're trying to protect us from another attack. And
Your baby's lives are going to be disturbed by unpeaceful moments. Let them get used to it. When
and
my children were babies, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. They decided to redo our fire escape outside of our freaking wing of our apartment building. So for a month, there was this horrible metal vibrating sound all day
mm,
long. And my kids, like champs, slept through it during their naps like 2 or 3 times a day. Just, I was like, yay. It was really nice.
well, I'm glad. I'm glad it didn't. Yeah, I'm glad it didn't affect them have such a negative way.
But I'm saying,
But
I'm just saying that, my God, so your husband has that power that he can change the courses of helicopters in the
well,
air above
no,
Washington, D.C.
I don't think he had that kind of power. But I think our neighbors were hoping that he could put in the suggestion or do something about it. And but still, just the idea, I was so surprised. And I know a couple of times I made a comment about, he would get up at 4 every morning and go into the Pentagon, and sometimes he didn't get home till 11 or 12, so he was only home for a couple of hours to get some rest. And I I was amazed if I made a comment like that, somebody would turn to me and say, "Well, that's what we pay him for."
People are
And
so stupid, really. I
so,
don't understand that at all.
that's his job. He knows the risk, and that's what we pay him for. And my point earlier was I sometimes think the musicians and especially some of the country music type um, style of music, they tend to put out more family type videos and things that say, look, this is the song I wrote and this is what the family goes through. And I think they try to build some awareness for that.
Mm,
And you're right, there's the opposite of that, which is the really big sensationalized, shoot 'em up and glamour and bombs and all that kind of thing. But
yeah.
you can
Because I
look
mean,
at it either way.
your husband went through the wars on the same way that everybody else did in convoys, and everybody knows that the convoys were the dangerous things, right? I mean, he was in danger there. He didn't have to be an infantryman outside on the front or whatever. Just everybody there was in danger at one
Oh, they
point or
were.
another. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. In fact, there were times when he was sent on missions where I had no contact. So there was no phone calls, no letters. And they do that to protect everybody and protect the mission. And so sometimes there was long periods of time that would go by where I didn't know what was going on. Now, gratefully, he had a very nice, commander who would call me every now and then and say, "Oh, I spoke to your husband this morning." and he's okay. And he's given me a few little bits of news, but then weeks could go by before I would get another call like that. So it's all part of being military family, and we do this to support the country and to keep everybody free and safe. And you have to admire what the wives go through and what the children go through. And those videos you see where they're all just crying because they're finally getting together. I've seen it firsthand, and it's all true. You know.
Yeah, it's tough stuff. Unfortunately, I don't know what's going to happen going forward. There's nothing imminent, right? I mean, this is a pretty peaceful time.
For
Not
the
that it
most
matters.
part,
You already did your
yeah.
part.
Yeah, I think for the most part, we're pretty stable right now. Of course, it's always in the back of my mind, but that's just me. That's just
Right. I
me.
mean, I guess you have to. I mean, we've come from a very chaotic time in history in terms of World War, both of them working all the way up to now. We've been promised imminent death. We've seen it happen. I can't help it. Sometimes I go on Wikipedia and I look at deaths during wars and whatnot, and it just strikes me as so odd that 20 million Chinese people died during World War II. I mean, that's the population of the entire area that I live in. It's crazy. That's the chaos that our grandfathers went through, basically. Just right there, I touched somebody who had to live through that. So,
Yes, and most of that generation has been dying off, and
I mean,
their
yeah,
knowledge goes
he's
with
gone.
them. Yeah,
Yeah,
with that.
it starts becoming a story, doesn't it? It stops being real.
That's true. Well, that's with history. And that's why it's important to look back and know about history and learn from history and understand history, so that we're not making those kinds of mistakes again. But that's just me.
Do you ever watch those prepper shows on cable, on TV?
I don't. To be honest, we don't have TV up here.
Ah, okay. Well, that answers my next question.
Yeah.
Yellowstone is a drama series on cable, I guess. I don't know what channel. I watch it on the internet, but it's about a rancher and a Native American tribe in Montana.
I've heard about that and I haven't seen it, but I believe it's filmed down around the Bozeman area.
Okay, that's interesting. I have no clue where it's from. It's really interesting. It's really good though. It's got Kevin Costner in it.
Right. I had a neighbor mention that to me the other day, and I guess I didn't, at first I didn't quite make the connection. I would thought they were talking about, Yellowstone, like Yellowstone National Park. And that's what happens when you don't get television. But
Yeah, me too. I thought it was about the Yellowstone National Park too,
yeah.
initially, and then I watched an episode, and it's really compelling. I mean, it's a soap opera. It really is a soap
Oh,
opera.
sure.
But what it is a western, though. Also on top of that, and it's a Kevin Costner joint, I guess, on top of that. But anyway, it's a western, which is really fascinating because it's kind of telling these modern western-like stories. I mean, what is a western, right? What's like the heart and soul of a western story? And I guess you're the one that would know. Who else is nominated with you with for the Will Rogers thing?
Well, they have different categories. And so I'm happen to be in the category of memoir and biography,
Oh, good.
but
Okay.
yeah, they have other categories as well. To be honest, I'm not really sure who's in my group, but I know that I am one of five. So we'll just, like I said, we're just going to have to kind of wait and see how that one pans out.
I would be
Um,
like looking at all their names and giving them the bad juju. You know, you will lose. In fact, I'll do that as soon as we get off. I'll be cheering for them.
oh, that's funny.
No, I think that's fascinating. I mean, that's a prestigious award, isn't it? I mean, in terms of being a Western writer, is that something you did not even know that existed, or were you familiar with it prior to being nominated?
I was familiar with it, and uh, I was always hoping that maybe one day I would qualify for something like that. So yes,
That's
I'm
so cool.
I'm very excited about it, and I'm very honored about it. Um,
Have you seen a boost in attention from the nomination?
no, I well, maybe. I suppose maybe is a better answer. I haven't really followed um, things like that. I'm also in the middle of getting into a lot of book signings and so there's more attention there. I was in Bozeman. In
Yeah, I saw
fact,
that.
yeah, Penny, our dog, came too. She was helping to greet people and help me sign books.
That's
So that was
awesome.
a lot of fun.
What's coming up on in terms of book signings for you from here?
Well, I'm going to be in Great Falls this Saturday at the Barnes and Noble. I'm kind of doing a little Barnes and Noble circuit like I do every summer.
Okay.
And I'll be in the Missoula store in September. And in between, I've got a couple of book groups and things to talk to. And of
That's
course, I'm still producing the videos and putting
yeah.
those out
Keep
there.
doing
So,
those. I really enjoy that. Keeps you on my radar. I don't know how I miss stuff. I mean, I don't know what the algorithm is on on these social media networks that I don't see everything. I'm not paying attention to anything at all. Your name just crops into my email box. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm not like, what's up with Nancy Quinn today? No, I mean, just like your name, your name appears. I'm like, I know her. What's up with Nancy Quinn? And then I see it. I'm like, oh, let's check that out or whatever. And that's neat. I like that's the way things seem to work. I don't like things nailing me over the head. Now, if your greenhouse video is good, and I'm like, what else does she have? And I'll look back and see if there's any more greenhouse videos. In fact, I want a whole series about greenhouse videos. That freaking broccoli plant was amazing.
did you notice the tomatoes? They were
Uh-uh.
taller than I were. They were massive. I was standing in front of that tomato patch.
I want a special order a video on tomatoes when next time you harvest them.
Okay, I'll
Anything,
do that.
I think you should just do harvest videos for the rest of the summer because man, that's like the coolest thing ever. Maybe I have like maybe it's a form of SMR, ASMR or something, but I really enjoyed the. I think you should go into what you're doing too, because that's another thing I really don't know. Is how do you grow tomatoes, right? That's interesting if you would tell me what you do in maintenance, how much water you're putting in and stuff like that, because people don't know. This
Oh,
stuff is
okay. Well,
going away.
I'll be
Brad,
glad to do that. Of course, I probably will end up having to stand on a ladder to get some of those tomatoes. The
they were
plant is,
that tall? I did not notice.
yes.
I did not notice they were that tall. The broccoli was amazing. That was pretty impressive. And I wanted to know, so you pulled like 6 really massive heads off of them.
Hmm.
Are you gonna like flash cook them and then freeze them up, or how do you handle the storage? Or do you eat that much broccoli on a daily basis?
Oh, no, you see, it's gone already.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I roast some. I have a fabulous recipe for roasting it. I made broccoli salad out of some. In fact, I should post that photo on my social media.
What do you do
And
to roast it? What's your recipe there?
well, I have olive oil and fresh garlic and a little bit of brown sugar. And
What?
yeah, and
No.
I mix it all up and I pour it over the broccoli and the onions and I kind of stir it up and get everything real
I
coated.
don't get there too. Okay, interesting. Brown sugar. I never in my life. I don't know. Really?
Oh, you have to try it. No,
I'm
you
gonna
have to try
have
it.
to now because I
It
asked, and it sounds very odd.
No, it's
So I'm
fabulous. It is. It
yeah.
brings the sweetness out of the vegetables, that kind of like the natural sugars,
Uh-huh.
and
And it
it gives it.
caramelizes it. Obviously, it gives it a nice
It
crunch,
does.
right? Yeah.
It does. It's really excellent. You have got
Okay,
to
I'm gonna
try
have to
it.
try it.
Got
Yeah.
to try
And we eat broccoli all the time. That's why I was so jealous of the broccoli. It's like, my God, that's ridiculous.
it. I've
That
got
was
a
my
bunch more in there. I still need to cut and some other things going on, but I'll do some more. I'll do another greenhouse video for you so that you
that's
can
neat.
see.
And if you do any
And
canning too, I imagine that would get you into fall as well. I mean, just really look at the land that what you do. Unfortunately, I really got into these sailing videos. Really, these couples, they go to various islands or whatever, and they just really, it's interesting watching how they function on a daily basis. You get into that stuff. But
yeah,
it also takes away from it because I mean, somebody commented on their websites like, what fools are these people that are wasting the opportunity to be sailors by videotaping every second of it. I mean, stop, put it down, enjoy your life. And that's a point, right? You don't want to necessarily record every nuanced moment.
and I do not, which is why you only see a video about once every 7 to 10 days from me. Because I don't have time to
Yeah.
do that. And frankly, you're right. I wouldn't want to. I like to have some privacy in my life, and I like to enjoy what I'm doing. But then on the flip side of that, there's a time and a place to share everything that I'm experiencing because it is unique and it is interesting. And why should I keep all of this beauty to myself, like the
Yeah.
videos I do of the sunsets and
Well,
things.
you're a storyteller too, even in
Yeah.
your art and your paintings. I mean, I don't know. Is this horse picture new since last time we talked? I don't think so. The
Which,
first one, you look down, you go to the page 59. I don't know why it says page 59.
oh, it's the way the software is set up. I don't know why it does that. I've noticed that too, but again, I don't know how to fix it because I'm not computer savvy. Um, and I honestly, I would go look at that, but our internet is so poor. I'm afraid if I open another window, it's going to be detrimental to what we're doing here. So I'm not really sure which one you're looking at, but is it the white horse?
No, it looks like a brown horse.
Oh, okay, it must be whiskey. Yeah, I did that one. Oh, that one.
Watchful Stallion. I'm sorry, there's actually a name there. Watchful Stallion.
Oh, okay. Yes, that is the watercolor of whiskey, and he was my model, and it's all done in the purples and the blacks. And yes, I know which one you mean. And it's only a couple of years old. It's still relatively new, but I really enjoy um, doing the art. The art takes a whole lot of time, and so does the writing. But again, it's about getting out that personal message
Yeah.
and sharing what your perceptions are and what you have to offer, because I think people that don't live this kind of a lifestyle would find it, very interesting. In fact, I did another one
Well, wait,
a
wait,
video.
wait. What did you say? People who don't live this type of lifestyle find it interesting. I think people who live that type of lifestyle find it interesting. You get a cross section of both sides of it, don't you?
I do, but to be honest, I think a lot of people think, oh, I get bears in my yard, so I mean, at least the people that live out here. So okay, it's interesting, but I've seen it before, and so there is an element of that. What you're used to isn't as fascinating. But see, I've been here 11 years, and I'm still finding it incredibly fascinating, and I'm still finding more and more people. It's growing. I have a blog that I post a lot of this on, and I know that people from Russia really find it kind of fun and fascinating. And I've heard from people in Poland, and I've heard from
Yeah,
people,
that's cool.
France and Germany. I mean, all over, because let's face it, this is still the American West, which has a mystique
Yeah, it's true.
all of its own, and our life is different. And I was going to tell you, I thought you'd get a kick out of this. I was going to read a couple of these, but I don't know if you saw one of my high noon teas where I discussed the blotter and the kinds of crimes that we have here,
No, I
because
missed that.
oh my
See what I'm
goodness.
saying? I don't hunt anything. I just kind of sit back and let it wash over me because I think we're in an age of a discovery. We're constantly seeing new things, and I kind of like having that happen.
Well,
But
I'll
no, I
tell you
didn't
what,
see that.
if you ever decide that you want to get these on a regular basis, and you don't have to watch them all, you can kind of pick and choose your subjects.
I
But
do. That's the
when you
funny thing. I hit the notification button and everything. I have it all hooked up on
oh,
your YouTube. So
did
yeah,
you click on the little bell that gives you
yeah,
the instant
I think
notification?
so. I believe so. I can check
Oh,
right
okay.
now. In fact, yeah, before the podcast ends, I will let you know whether or not I have notifications set up because I do see all your stuff. Maybe I am choosing not to check stuff out, but this does sound it does sound something like I would check out though.
Well,
Crimes and blotters.
yeah, we get our newspaper, and we have a section in it called the blotter, and it reports the kinds of crimes that we have, which I'm assuming are probably different from the kinds of crimes that you have there in New York.
Test me.
And I've got a paper here. So here, let me read you a couple. Now these are actual entries. And this is some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about on that news from the mountain program. But for example, here's one. It says, report of a fawn running loose behind a grocery store. Now, someone called the police about this. An officer saw it earlier and it appeared that everything was okay. So here's another one, and it says, uh, a caller stated she could not find her goat. So someone actually called the police about not being able to find their goat. And she said she had a specific deputy that she wanted to come and help her find her goat.
Oh, that's
It's a
interesting.
small town. They all know the deputies by name.
Uh-huh.
And it says she was advised that this deputy had been off duty for a couple of hours now and that he may be sleeping. and she reported that she was going to call him anyway.
That's
So
so funny.
it's very Mayberry kind of things around here. I mean, we do get some real crime every now and then, but it's quite rare. And one of the things I find so charming about reading through the blotter is because we do get a lot of the more personal, kinds of stories where the police will come out and help with someone. And that's kind of nice because it's not necessarily just about law enforcement, which is what I used to do. This is more about community and the old-fashioned kind of peace officer where they'll come in and maybe turn off your coffee pot if you left it on, or they want to come and help out. And I just find it very charming, and I love to share these kinds of stories.
Man, you should start interviewing the actual cops too. Call down there, talk to the cop, see if you can talk to the complainant, get like the nitty gritty of the situation because it always sounds more ridiculous on paper, right? They've got a reason for everything. Why would goat disappear? Why that deputy? I want to know all the details of that story. You're got a gold mine on your hands.
Yeah, there's always something going on, and some of these reasons maybe I wouldn't necessarily call the police about, but it's a small community and everybody's pretty comfortable with each other. You got to remember they see each other all the time. They're in the same grocery store. You see them on the street. And so if they
Oh,
have a problem, they just call
yeah.
and
No,
that
these are not all the stories in your book, though, are they? Are they stories in part two? Can people read them
Oh yeah,
now? Can they
I
get
have
that?
a lot of I have the new book Stay West has only been out a couple of weeks, and it covers about the next 5 years, where the first book Go West Young Woman left off. And yes, I do have a lot of these charming stories that are throughout the book because it's a part of our lives, to get the paper and read it. And sometimes they tie in with other things that are going on. So yeah, you can read a lot of these really cute little blotter entries in both of the books. So there's a lot of charm and there's a lot of interesting things that go on a daily basis, and I enjoy sharing them with everybody.
And you're going to have an opportunity, what is it, monthly now with Blog Talk
Yes,
Radio, Off the
with the
Chain
Blog Talk
Radio?
Radio Show. It
Yeah.
starts in January,
Wow,
and
that's a long time away.
it is, but the reason is because honestly, her show was entirely booked until January. And so she said, I don't want to bump a guest once a month to get you started. So she said, let's start it in January. We can begin with some of the promotions and let everybody know you're coming, what you're going to be doing. But the first show is the first Wednesday in January, and then hopefully it will continue on from there. And I'll be sharing all of the news from the mountain, all of the things that happened to us, and then stories about the animals. And when that grizzly bear was in the front yard, I thought of you. I thought, oh, if Bryan saw this, he wouldn't know what to do.
And I would know that I'm not going to go any closer to it, right? I mean, that's pretty intelligent. Don't go closer to the bear. Don't throw anything at the bear. I wouldn't throw anything at the bear. I wouldn't make any noise,
Well,
right?
see, you would know exactly what to do. So maybe my books have inspired you to decide to move to Montana and live on a mountain. What do you think?
I only read free books. I haven't gotten any of your books. But yeah, you definitely have inspired me. You know what I want to do? I want to live upstate New York, though. Oh my God, upstate New York is so
Oh, it's
beautiful.
so beautiful. There's some gorgeous places up there.
Yeah, we're in
And
love with it. We love the Hudson River Valley. Like if you follow it all the way up, like that's where we want to. If like we were thinking about retiring someplace, we don't want to live on the river someplace up north, not
I
New
would
York
too.
City.
I would too. I love the water,
Yeah,
and so I understand exactly what you're saying. That would be
and
it.
I love the history over here too because you do have that combination
You
of
do?
just old American history and
Well, are you there?
yeah, I'm here. I'm so
Oh,
sorry. One time, I will tell you this story. Jesus Christ, I can't believe it happened again. Oh, I'm sorry. There is a bird in my basement again.
a
Speaking of
bird in your
wild,
basement.
again, there is another bird in my basement. This happened once before. It was like a freaking baby bird. I don't know how it got there, and it started chirping.
Oh, well, now see, if I was there, we would absolutely do a rescue. In fact, I did a video about a couple
Oh
of bird
shit, dude,
rescues that
it
I did
scared
when
the
they get in the
crap out of
house.
me. How would you rescue it? Tell me how you would rescue it.
Okay, well, first of all, when you go down there, do you know how it's getting in? Is there,
No clue. I'm in the basement. There's like all these, nothing is open.
so there's no window or any way it can get out?
Nope, there's a sliding glass door. I mean, that's the only thing I could think. I mean, there was one other time it was in. I'm rearranging stuff too. So, I mean, I had no clue how it's in here, if it's even in here at all. I thought I
Well,
just heard
I
one
would
chirping.
definitely open your sliding glass door so that it has a way to get out. And, if you're calm enough, sometimes they will come to you. If you just approach them very slowly and put your hands out, depending upon the bird, the chickadee was really friendly and came right up, onto my hand and then basically didn't want to leave. Um, and some other birds tend to be more skittish and they're frightened. So if you can just get up close to it, kind of see how it's going to react, you might be able to let it get on if you have like the end of a broom handle or something, sometimes they'll jump on the edge of that and you can walk them out the door. You can also kind of shoo him a little bit if you sort of get behind him and move around. Sometimes that will frighten them if you can kind of move them towards the door. It just sort of depends on the personality of the bird, but it's
These
definitely
are
worth a rescue.
these are New Jersey birds, so I don't think they're very friendly.
Well, you never know. You might run into that individual, especially the small ones. If it's a baby, you might be able to get closer to it.
I don't know. I think they're in our attic, and somehow they end up down here. So they must be falling through the wall, and like the only thing they can do is, I don't. Yeah, I'm hearing it again.
Well, see, I had one fall down my chimney.
Yeah, there's no
Um,
chimney though. Well, we do have a chimney, but it's actually in the actual basement with me. Oh shit. I'm like stepping on things. I'm freaking out because I'm afraid I'm gonna step on it. 'Cause I'm rearranging, so like it's chaos around me. So I have no clue where it is.
well, maybe he likes your show and wants to come down and hear
Hell
it
yeah.
firsthand.
That's exactly what's going on. I have a fan.
You do.
I have a fine feathered fan,
See, now, not all your fans are people with two legs. They could have wings or four legs. You just don't know. You don't know
like
who's listening.
my friends. I wanted to ask one final question. We're about an hour into our wonderful conversation,
Oh,
but
okay.
I
Yes.
was curious, has anybody ever asked you whether or not to do covers or whatever for them with your artwork? They paint Western scenes. Have you ever put your shingle out as a cover artist?
It's it's an idea, and off and on I have had people ask me to do some designs for them. It's, to be honest, it's not something I really advertise or want to get into simply because I just don't have the time. Um, I really I love to paint and I love to paint what the kinds of things I want to do. So I don't see me getting into cover art anytime soon. Like I said, I won't shut the door on that completely.
Yeah.
But with trying to
You're a
get these
very
books off
interesting
the ground,
artist, right? I mean, you're
yeah.
an incredibly interesting artist in terms of you get to pick what you want to do, not out of desperation, not because you want to make a living doing it, but because you are doing what you love to do. You're writing these stories because you love living in Montana. You do the art that you do because you love the animals that you paint or photograph, share the stories or whatever.
Hmm.
It's not about the career.
Well, yes and no. I'll be honest with you. You have to look at, and you're right. It took me a long time as an artist to get to the point to where I could pick and choose a project. There were times where I just really needed the money, and so I would do, basically whatever I was asked to, and I was out beating the bushes for work. Um, and then later, I was privileged enough to be able to kind of pick and choose what I want. However, the idea of whether it's a hobby or a career is very distinct in my mind, and I do see my work as a career in both ways. I'm broadening away from the art and moving into being an author, and I'm moving into doing the radio and I'm moving into doing the videos, but it's all a career. I'm just grateful that it's about what I really love to do. But do I want to make money out of it? Of course. Do I want my book to hit the New York Times bestseller list? Of course. Um, but it's not the driving factor. It's a qualifier. It tells me kind of where I am in my career and as a success rate. But I don't wake up every morning going, I need to make a ton of money on this. That's not it. It's more like, oh, wait until people see this, or wait, I can share this, or it's driven more by the love of the work, and what comes in is important. But you're right, it's not the driving factor.
It's obvious. I mean, you have a lot of opportunities to branch out if you wanted to, but they
Hmm.
would take away from what you're doing. They wouldn't. I probably add to it. I'm like my metaphor of the sailors, basically. I mean, yeah, they're videotaping every single moment for me to enjoy, but are they enjoying it? I mean, does that woman enjoy hamming it up for me, or is there something else that she would rather could be doing with her time, right? What else could she be doing? I don't know.
Well, and that's why I don't want to. I know that there are artists or authors or even just people that have YouTube channels, celebrities, personalities, whatever category you put them in, where they put out videos every day, and they're constantly producing about their life and what they're doing. And that's not my goal.
Yeah,
I don't want that. I don't want my life to turn into that. I'm happy to share portions of it and segments of it, but I don't want to be followed around by a camera, because I agree. I think that it changes your life, and I don't want my life to be changed in that way.
right. I mean, Nancy Quinn's an author, though, so I mean, you could write these stories and things down for people to enjoy, and I guess that's what you're doing. And people can read 2 volumes right now of your stories on Amazon, right? Through you? How can they find your
Yes, yes. Well, the books, and they're also ebooks too. I am a author published through Hellgate Press, so I know you can buy them directly from the publisher, actually, for a little bit of a discount on the paperbacks.
Oh,
But
interesting.
yeah, they are available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. They're online. They're in bookstores. On my website, if you want to contact me personally, I have a grouping of them. They're first editions, and I can actually personalize and sign them and send them out. So I do that as well. But yes, they're easily found, and I certainly hope that everybody would just take a moment and give it a look and see if it's your cup of tea, so to speak.
Was there anything that you wanted to mention that we failed to get into? You sent me a list, and guess what I didn't do? Look at it even before we started. So, do we cover everything that you wanted to talk about, or did we skip things? You're
No,
like,
I
why did I bother writing you a list, dum dum? Next time, not doing it.
well, you must have retained
I read
quite
a
a
little
bit.
bit of it. I
Yeah,
read.
because I think we covered, the things that I wanted to share, and then we got a little bit about some things from you too. So yeah, I think
What
everything
are
was well said.
what are you reading right now? Anything we recommend?
Let me think.
What are you and your husband reading right now?
Yeah, and to be honest, we haven't been reading as
Oh
much
no.
as I know.
It's summertime, man. No, get away. That's what I tell my wife. Get away. No, it's summertime. You're not allowed to touch me until November, December.
Well, we've had just with so much going on, these construction projects that we really work on because we have to take advantage of the weather. We've had a lot of people coming for visits. We get a lot of company in and out during the summer because, again, that's when people can get here and it's the best time of year. So we have family coming in and out. I've got some more family coming in next week. So by the time the evening rolls around, we're both pretty weary and we haven't been reading as much. But we did start the book I told you about before. I think it was The Wolf. And um, we're, we're, we're still trying to get through that one. So I don't really have much new that we're reading together. I still sit down when I have a few minutes every now and then and read through some books on my own, but they're mostly, decorating books and architecture books or travel books. Equitrekking is something I've been looking at recently where, uh,
Equa tripping?
yeah, they on horseback, it's a book and it's about the travels of people that go all over the world and ride horses, in their native countries. So like you might go to Scotland and then they photograph all these different places where they ride on their native horses, and it's just beautiful. So I can go all over the world through this book and ride a horse and see everything they're seeing. It's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed that one.
Oh, fantastic. Equitrek.
Hmm.
Aquatetrek. Wow, I can't spell.
I think it's with an E. Yeah, because it's based on equine. So look
Oh,
up,
okay. Well, that makes sense. It has
yeah,
nothing to do with water. It
equitreking. Yeah,
has nothing to do with agua. Ha. So okay, perfect.
no, it's about the horse. It's about the idea of
I
going
phonetically
to
spelled
different
it in my
places
head
and
completely wrong.
riding different breeds of horses.
That's pretty cool. You're pretty big. We've never talked about horses. I bet you have a lot of ability to chat about that subject.
Oh my goodness, yes. Anytime you want to talk about horses, you just let me know because I have learned so much since we've moved here.